Okie dokie. So first, let's go through the process of installing WordPress. So obviously you need to have a domain and you need to have hosting set up, and pretty much any hosting provider is going to have a one-click install for WordPress, so you don't have to worry about FTP or changing file names or anything with WordPress files. So here I'm using HostGator. I was in my hosting platform where I could kind of see how to add an add-on domain and subdomains, blah, 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 blah. And then it has the WordPress icon. So all that other blah, 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 you don't have to worry about. So I went and I clicked on there, and with any hosting account you're using, it's going to look like this or similar. They're going to ask similar questions. So it's going to ask you first to pick whatever domain that you want to install WordPress on. Yeah.
Can I ask, why are you installing WordPress on a host rather than wordpress.com?
Like a free branding. I want more control over it. I can pick really awesome themes for when I host my own site versus wordpress.com. I want emilyrule.com. I don't want emilyrule.wordpress.com.
No,
That?
I get that, but I'm using wordpress.com. I have we all our own domain names as well. Yeah.
I guess I've just never done it. I've always gone to the host, and I don't have experience with that. I just know doing this way I can access all my files, my FTP server. Can you do that with yours?
Oh, I don't even know what those things are.
So, well, there's a theme I like to use, and it has some really cool templates, and I have to be able to adjust some coding in my files if I want to use the template. The theme works without it, but
So is it right then that the wordpress.org is more tech-friendly and the .com is more non-techy people friendly?
once it's installed, they'll kind of function the same, but when you use the .org or the .com where you don't get your own domain, it's really quick to set up. I mean, you don't have to worry about hosting because the hosting is free, so that's a benefit. But then you're missing out on kind of your own better branding, I suppose, and control.
Even with the .com, you have your own domain, you have your own
But I'd say, for me, it's control, and I've never done that. I didn't even know they did it because I've never needed to.
I did a short take box, which is like an LLC. We had last year and we don't have social media and stuff. They definitely don't do like a much of the reasons
She said she took a course, Geraldine took a course a little bit ago about WordPress, and they said definitely don't use the .com because of the reasons I said. Lack of control, can't edit the files, that kind of thing. Okay, so I've picked my URL, and this install path here is something that you have control over. So for example, if I wanted to install WordPress on mypoweracademy.com/blog, and it was just going to be a blog, perhaps mypoweracademy.com has Fusion HQ landing pages or something, whatever. And I can install /blog and have the blog or the WordPress theme here. Or leaving it blank, you're installing it on the root domain, which would be mypoweracademy.com. And then it's installed there. Okay, so then the admin email is your email, your blog title. You can set it up here, and then you can also edit it once WordPress is installed. And then admin user is, what's the username you're going to use to log in. Don't use admin. Don't use something really obvious because hackers, it's easy for them. I would say a lot of WordPress themes use admin. I've actually set it up myself. I've been hacked. It's a mess and crazy, and I'll never do that again. So don't use admin as a user. Don't use something obvious. And then your first name and last name. And then you click install. Sometimes they let you pick your own password. In this case, they're going to give me a long jumbled password after I click install. And then in about 5 minutes, you're able to log in to your WordPress site. And this is an empty empty WordPress site. There's no theme that I've installed, no plugins that I've installed or anything. So now I'm going to go and show you how to install your own theme and then which plugins to use and kind of just some of the basic setup so you can understand, and how to do it yourself. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go to Appearance and you're going to want to pick your theme. I love the Jupyter theme, but I'm going to take you to Theme Forest where I do all my theme shopping. I'm going to kind of walk you through which ones might be good, which ones aren't, because I've purchased ones that had maybe good reviews and that ended up really being terrible. So I want to kind of walk you through that process. So Theme Forest has a lot of resources for internet. They have, stock videos, they have stock audio, stock graphics, and they have themes for WordPress, HTML, other platforms. But here in WordPress, I can see that you just have thousands and thousands of options. What you want to look for is a theme with lots of sales and lots of stars. So I'm going to go here and just pick a subcategory.
How did you get there anyway? Sorry.
Themeforest.net.
Is that something you have to pay for?
Nope, it's free. The themes aren't free,
Oh, that's what I
but using ThemeForest is free.
So where do you just search Theme Forest?
Just go to themeforest.net right here.
In your plugins?
On a browser. So I've got this open,
Okay.
and here's my site. So
And can I ask why you used HostGator as opposed to the millions of others?
I've been using it for a long time, so it's just what I picked a long time ago when I had started. The pricing is really good. The support is awesome. They have chat support, which is available, I think, 24/7, and they can help me really easily. I can call them, and they're very helpful. I bought one reason I really like them, this just happened recently. A lot of times when you go to a host provider and you buy a hosting package and then you're like, oh, that hosting package is not right for me. And you tried it out and you didn't like it. So for example, I bought a WordPress specific hosting package and I installed the theme I wanted and I installed the plugins that I like to use across all my sites, and then it deleted one of the plugins. I'm like, you can't do that to my website. This is my choice. And so I found out it was because that hosting package didn't like an older version of that plugin, which I wasn't using, but it just had blacklisted. It was the Google XML map thing, and they deleted it. And so I messaged HostGator. I said, I want to switch hosting packages. Can you refund my money? Most hosting companies would not refund your money. They'd say, I'm sorry, you've made the choice, so they're not refundable, sorry, blah, blah, blah. Well, they refunded me, and over the phone, I set up a new account, and they gave me recommendations on how to, make it easy and seamless. So I just, customer service in this case makes a huge difference.
For me, though, I've tried to speak to HostGator on the phone and you can never get anyone.
Really?
From out is absolutely terrible.
It might be just I'm in the U.S.
Yeah.
In
So
U.S. hours.
for us here, believe me, it's like, but you can get GoDaddy anytime.
Anytime.
So 5 minutes and you've got lunch started. I waited 2 weeks for a callback from HostGator and had to keep calling them.
Oh my goodness.
It was just shocking.
We're all going to have different experiences, and you just got to pick what's good for you, what you would like. Mm-hmm. Nice. That's wonderful. And that provides hosting? He provides hosting? Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, cool. Okay, so here we are in Theme Forest, and let's just take a look at some of these themes. You want to filter. You want a good rating. So 4 stars or higher. And you also want to find themes that have a lot of sales, because that way the designer of the theme has has had the ability to kind of fix any bugs. They've had time to listen to their buyers and make adjustments based on what those theme users have, commented on. So let's just go in and look at this one as an example. Has a lot of good stars. $59 is pretty common in Theme Forest. But you also want to take a look at the comments. I've purchased a theme in the past. It had a lot of great stars, and then when I went to install it, it was just a bad theme, and what it looked like you could do, you couldn't do. And if I had read through the comments, I would have learned that the theme was buggy and it didn't do what you wanted it to do. And the only reason why they had so many stars was because if you wanted support, then you'd have to give them 5 stars. So it was something crazy, like that, exactly like that. Okay, so just look through. You want to hear like, hey, I've been using this for a while. It's great. So this guy is asking a support question. How are they responding? This. So you just make sure you kind of read through these support comments and get a good idea. The one that was terrible was, I think, called Bookish. It was a theme for authors that wanted to have, just showcase their book that they're selling. I tried to do the demo actually live at 2 GTSs ago, and it was the theme issue, and I trashed it, and then I went back and realized it was the theme that had the problem. Okay, so let me show you the one I really love that I use on my websites that I develop for other people, and they all look different. It's really simple to use, and it's very, very stable. It's called Jupiter. Here we are, this one. So I've purchased it multiple times. It's a wonderful template to use. Again, like I said, it's very stable, and I've never had any problems. It loads really quickly. It's just really wonderful to use, and I'll show you the back end of what that looks like as well. Okay, so after you purchase this theme or a theme, you have to install it to WordPress. And so here we are in WordPress, and you click on Add New. And when you're installing a theme, you have to upload a zip file. So it's the file name .zip, and then WordPress unzips it for you. So I'm clicking Install. I'm going to browse for. Okay, I'm just going to re-download it because I don't have that file on my computer. Hope this works. Okay, I just need a different view so I can see this up here. Just 1 second. I will, in fact, just download it from Dropbox. See here we are. Another thing that I like, that people seem to like, is the Divi theme, D-I-V-I. It's also very popular, has a lot of templates, kind of works the same. I've tried it instead of Jupiter, and I go back to Jupiter. But I guess you like what you're used to, right? So that's why I use this one. D-I-V-I. And it's by, I can't think of actually who it's by, but they have a lot of other themes. I think it's a monthly or an annual fee you pay to use it. Jupiter is just a one-off. Okay. Downloading. It's almost there. Any funny stories from last night you want to share? No, nothing. Nothing internet related. How about soccer related, drinking related? Oh, that sounds very exciting. The library. Ooh. Yeah. Wow. Did the storm affect? Wasn't there rain? No? Oh. I could have sworn I heard, when I was getting a massage, I heard pouring rain. I'm like, wow, this is just so perfect. You're buffered down there? That's great. Okay. Alrighty, so I've got it on my desktop now, so now I can install it. You see it's a zip file. Click open and then install now, and it's just going to go through the process of installing. You want it zipped when you install it. So if you see here, it's jupyter.zip. So you have to upload the zip file. And that's the same for plugins. When you're installing plugins, they also have to be zipped. Okay, so it's installed, and then to activate it, you click Activate. So this means that now your site's using this theme. It just compress. So for a Mac, and I'm sure it's similar for a PC, I just go to the file and I right click, WinZip. Oh, well, I wonder if you can compress. I wonder if you can zip it without it. I don't know. But being a Mac user, it's easy. Being a biased Mac user. I think it just does it. I've never, not that I recall, have ever had to install anything special. So in a Mac at least, if your computer ends up unzipping it for you, just compress it again and it will zip it up. When you download from ThemeForest, they give you the zip file. But sometimes my computer will unzip it automatically if I download it and I have to re-zip it. Okay, so I'm just going to close those. There's a new version, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so with the Jupyter theme, for example, and a lot of themes, if you buy a ThemeForest, because they give you extra little things to make the website look nicer, they have extra plugins that you have to install. So, and they'll let you know. Here it says just begin installing plugins. There's 2 I have to install and activate. So I'm just going to go through the process of installing. And it's the theme captcha and then the visual composer. And the visual composer is what makes it really easy to kind of move things around and add really neat elements to the site. Okay, so I've installed them through the process that Jupyter gave me, and now I'm going to click on Return to Required Plugins Installer, and now I have to activate those plugins. So right now they're just installed, but they're not switched on, and now I need to switch them on. Okay, so after I have that, I want to install some other plugins as well to make the website function really well. You know, when you have a website, you want to make sure it loads really quickly, and so there's things you can do to make sure it loads well. There's SEO plugins that you can install, and also things that just make Google like your site better. Let me just write the names up over here. I don't think I'll download them. Install them. You don't need to see me install them. Okay, so the ones that I install on all of my sites are the Google XML sitemap. I also use the WP Super Cache. And you can search for these. I'll show you how to search for them. And there are other sitemap plugin options, and there are other caching options. Caching means that it's going to save files to the person's temporary folder so that sites load faster. And then you can clear your cache if you need to make, it's just, easy clearing. Things function differently. Not something you need to worry about though. And then also Yoast SEO. That's an A actually, Yoast SEO. And these actually work well together, making your site function really quickly. Another thing you would want to install is kind of a backup function, so that if you make a change or maybe someone hacks into your site and they destroy your files, or they install a file that just kind of takes over the site, but the files are still there. I like to use the Dropbox. Sorry, it's getting down low. Dropbox has an automatic thing where you can do automatic saves of your site, and it automatically installs it to Dropbox so that you have a running file. And I do this for my clients so that in my humongous Dropbox file, I have constant backups of all their sites. And so far I haven't needed to use it, but if I do, I've got all the files that they could possibly want to use. Okay, so let me just go to where the plugins are and where you would find them, and then show you how to install them. Okay, so here on the dashboard on the left, I'm just going to plugins, and then clicking Add Now. And then just search for the plugins. So if I want to do the Yoast SEO, I search for Yoast SEO, and then it will pop up here. Okay, so here's that one, and you can click Install Now.
What does that do?
It lets you create, customize the page tags and meta tags for each of your pages. It also has a social function too, which is why I picked this one. You don't want to have too many plugins installed on your WordPress site. It just makes it more vulnerable. So the reason I picked the Yoast SEO is because it does the social media aspect and the SEO aspect. And you can see there's been 1 million installs, which is just awesome. And it's 4 stars, but that's pretty good for a plugin, especially with 1 million installs. Mm-hmm. So we're actually working with Fusion HQ to get that done. You would install a subdomain and host it yourself. So you would put it on like blog.yourdomain.com. And we're working with them on that to make that possible. They used to host WordPress, but so many people had been installing it, and if you're not protecting your site properly, you expose it to being hacked, as with any site. But they wanted more control over their hosting because they're providing it. I mean, that's why. So you own your domain. So how we would make that change for people that want to host their own is that there's something called an A record. I'll create a video when this happens. So you'd host your own domain, and then you'd point your one A record to your root domain to a IP address, which is just the numbers that communicate to the Fusion HQ servers. And then you'd create the subdomain, and you'd host your subdomain, the blog.yourdomain.com, on your own host. I know. It's not like the files are all on a server, and you need to tell other people's computers where to look at for a site. So, technical details.
XML one, is that XML site map and Google News feed?
Let me see. It's this one here. You want it to make it really easy for Google to index your blog and to crawl your blog, and it helps with SEO and that kind of thing. Again, this one has the million installs, really good ratings. And then the other one that I like to use is the WP Super Cache, so I'll show you what that looks like. Feel free to explore other options, of course. If you wanted to find a caching plugin, just type in cache and do search. If you didn't want to specifically use what I'm recommending, I won't be offended. So again, here's the WP Super Cache. It will speed up your site when people visit it. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so one other thing I want to just recommend when you're building websites or installing pictures is to make sure they're really small as quality possible. So if you wanted to have your picture on the slider and it's just taking up half the site up here, don't have a picture that's 2,000 pixels wide and 2,000 pixels tall, because that makes that picture humongous and it will just make your site load more slowly. So kind of keep that in mind. Just make your images as small as possible. If it's going to display, if your picture is going to display this big, like a thumbnail, don't upload a picture that actually could fill this whole thing and still look good. Make it as small as what you need it. That will help your site load faster as well. Let's see, what else do I have on my notes? Okay, so next, that was it for the plugins. Next, I wanted to show you how to just set up your page and your menu. So right now, if you go to this site, it's just going to look like an empty blog. Hello world, Jupyter theme. How do you make this direct to the right page that you want it to? If you have a home page, the great thing about WordPress is that it doesn't have to look like a WordPress site. It doesn't have to look like a blog. It can look like a legitimate business, storefront or whatever. You have those design options, but you have to set it up so that it goes to the right page. And you do that under the settings and then reading. And here you would select what static page you want on the home page. So you click static, and then you go pick your front page. The theme or your WordPress install creates 2 pages automatically, a sample page and a sample post. So you would go and make your home page, and then you go into settings, reading, and select your home page so that you can go and edit that page and make it look like a nice home page. Does that make sense? Do you want me to show you the back end of like a site that's been set up? Okay. Let me just detach this again so I can get a normal view. Online Viso training? It's not on WordPress. It's on Fusion HQ, which is a drag and drop. No. It could be. I could just take this, cut out my chit-chatty parts, and plug it in there. Yeah. Let's see. I'm in Firefox. Let me just change it.
How much of an understanding of WordPress do we need to have?
Not too much. If you just follow kind of what I've done, and then I'm going to show you how easy Jupyter is, then you will be fine. It means there is one page that looks exactly the same all the time as a home page. Okay, so let me show you this. It's my CrossFit gym. Okay, so every time you go to this page, you're going to see this site. This is the static page, it's their homepage. So compared to, if you were to go to maybe, let's just say BuzzFeed, and I'm not sure, but it's a kind of a blog, more of a blogging site, their homepage will probably show the most recent blog posts they've created. Instead of, what is this business about? Because every time someone's searching for CrossFit in Verona, this company wants to show that they do CrossFit, personal training, and boot camp every time. Every time a new visitor goes to the site. If it's always changing, then they wouldn't be able to send that same message every time. So this site uses the Jupyter theme, and if I go to the pages, and it's loading, you can see there's a home page, and it's set as the front page, which means it's that static page. And if I click edit, you can kind of see how it's kind of mapped out using the options in Jupyter. Okay, so this is using the virtual composer, and this top part has it represents that picture in the background, and then the text saying Verona's best CrossFit gym or whatever, and then here you can see these icon boxes, and that represents this here. And the nice thing about the Jupyter theme is that you can edit these boxes and pick from thousands of little icons. So this has a little working out man and a clock and a little heartbeat. All of those were provided by these icons that I didn't have to design. In fact, the only thing that I really had to do was I just took some pictures of the gym while I was there. And then I plugged all these, oh, there's me, 20 pounds ago. Anyway, so a lot of this theme can also be automated. So if you're at the bottom of here, these are blog posts that they wrote that automatically just get updated whenever they create a new blog post. That's kind of another nice thing about this theme. If you see any site that I've created, a lot of times at the bottom it's going to have updated information, which meaning these posts are here. But it just kind of streams in based on the setting that I've created. I know we went on a tangent, and you're probably like, what is Emily talking about? But that's, I was just going to show what a static page is and how that was set up and what it looks like in a completed site. So, I went to the settings, I went to reading, and I selected that home page. And this is the home page that I want to be seen every time someone goes to that site. Does that make sense?
Is that the name of it?
The classic mode would just show you this script, but it's kind of hard to look at, and you can't, I would not know to do bracket /MK underscore fancy, Well, I know, right? So the back-end editor, the visual composer, makes it really easy for me. So let me just show you, if I wanted to add a new section, I would just click on the plus, and this looks weird because it's a small screen at the moment, but there's tons of options. You can add a text block, an icon, a separator, Pinterest and tweeting, image galleries, Google Maps, pie charts, line charts, where you just kind of put in the number. Have you ever been to a site and it kind of scrolls through numbers, and all of a sudden it ends like, oh, I've helped 300 clients, or I've transformed 2 million lives, and it kind of, have you ever seen those? Well, you can do it really easily here. You just you put in the number you want it to be, and it automatically creates that. The post masonry grid kind of creates the blog post at the bottom of the site, like I showed you, and it makes it really easy to create these nice looking sites without having to do a lot of the work. you're probably feeling overwhelmed at the moment, but the great thing about this theme and the Divi theme specifically all have templates that you can use. So for example, you can go to artbees.net, I believe, which is the theme owner who created the theme. And let me just show you something really neat that you can do so that you don't have to brainstorm the design that you want. Thinking.
Can I use the paid version give you every option?
Yes.
Do they have limited ones, like free ones, just the basics?
Well, you pay $59 for the theme, and then you have access to all our templates if you wanted to install a template. Let's see. Let me. Well, they give you the 2 plugin installs that I showed you that they prompt you to do. And then in your purchase package, they do have other plugins that they give you. Like there's a slider plugin that works with some of the templates specifically, but they do have other slider options that you don't need to install separately, but some do. So here are the templates. It kind of looks funky at the moment, but here I'm going to select Jupyter, which is going to show me all the themes for Jupyter. They also have the theme called the Ken. Anyway, so you can see that they have all these different templates that you can use, and you can filter them by what your niche is. But let's just take a look at this one, for example. Live demo. So what you would do by downloading this template and installing it into your WordPress theme, and I'll show you where that is, it will create this site for you with all the pictures, so that when you're in the back end of your home page, you can just change the text, change the images if you want to make it be about you. Isn't that nice? Sometimes the hard part in designing a site is kind of brainstorming an inspiration for your design. So by choosing themes that have these templates that you can use, it kind of speeds it up for you. If you, just as another option, they have the templates here that are just not designed templates, but they're laid out, the about section, a tour section. They kind of spaced it out correctly for you as well if you don't use a template provided by the theme. So when you go, yeah.
Just got jumbled in my head. So you choose the theme. So let's go. We're going with Jupyter, and then we go to artbees.net in order to choose templates for that theme.
Correct. They're just free pre-made things. It's one of the benefits for buying that theme. Feature and a benefit.
So buying the theme without the templates, we still need to color it in ourselves.
No matter what, it's a $59 US dollar theme. And then you have the option to use their templates if you wanted to. In order to do that, so in steps, you install WordPress, install a theme, and specifically for Jupyter, then you'd install a template, and then you kind of fill in your details. So if you were to install the template, you'd go to Jupyter up at the top, install templates, and just you'd install it here, a zip folder, and then you, like in this case, I use this one and just kind of changed it up. Sometimes I use the template, sometimes I don't. It also depends kind of on the host, if they will allow it or have the space for it. So then you just put it in here and install. Pretty fun. It can be fun. Any questions?
Going through a process, just say an average website, how long does it take you to build one?
If I have all the content, so I'm not having to go back and forth or create it myself or going to a client, it can be pretty quick, especially using this theme. Let's just say 3 days, if that's all I'm doing. But realistically, if someone said, hey, Emily, I know you've got a job and all this other stuff, how long can you get me a site finished? It might take 2 weeks to a month. I don't need to do it just because, I don't know, gotta balance it out.
And so we're also going to cover how you price for that. Like, do you price per hour or do you price per job or?
I do by page. So if the WordPress theme is just 5 pages, it's, and it's not too complicated, it could be $2,000 to $3,000. If they have lots of pages, like they have home, about, services, team, a couple squeeze pages, I would price that out differently because it's way more work. And if you were to do it yourself using these themes, and you wanted to hire someone off of Upwork, which I've done, and it works out okay. I feel like when I've gone to a designer, I say, hey, design me a site. They create this site, but they have kind of done all their coding themselves, and then you get to the back end of your WordPress site with what they created, and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't change a thing. Now I have to go back to that same developer because they're the only person that knows that they did, which is very frustrating. So as a suggestion and a tip is find a theme that you like the Jupyter theme or whatever, go to a developer in Upwork and say, I want you to use this theme. Don't change any coding in the theme. Here's my content, plug it in, make it look nice. That way you can go in later and make changes, or if you have to hire someone else, or you have an assistant that can update the blog, anyone could help you because WordPress is a common platform.
And so with the content, I found with people, 99% of people that I've built websites for, they've got no idea what content they want. And so I've ended up writing it for them.
Yeah.
So which is fun because I get to learn a lot about whatever, industry. But is that the norm?
Oh, that is incredibly, yes, the norm, for sure. One thing that we have been doing for quite some time is that we have a form, and the form says, what are the emotions, what are some of the pains that your clients have? I'll show you the form maybe after the break so you can kind of see what we ask. So, and then we take that and we have a copywriting software that we can use. And the copy is it's very internet marketing. But I take that and I can grab snippets and kind of see how, based on those pains and those benefits, pull pieces out of that copy that's been created and kind of fill in the blanks for a site. And then I can give that to the client and I can say, please go through this. Tell me what words you want to change, because they sometimes just need to see something and then they have a better idea. All right. So it's actually break time, 30 minutes. Do you have one more question?
Yeah, just if you're letting somebody come in and take over the WordPress site, temporarily, what are the levels, or you just change password?
That is a great question. Actually, I think we haven't. No, it's break time. Okay, so you go to users, and you don't want to give them admin rights, but there's editor, author. So an editor could maybe change some settings. An author could make posts for you, and a contributors, they can make posts for you, but you'd have to approve them. And then a subscriber is someone that can post comments on your posts if that's an option. But administrator is you and you alone, or maybe your sister or brother or business partner, And that way you'll never be locked out if you do it this way. Just like a fan page. All right, 30 minutes, we're going to come back. Allie's going to talk about YouTube, I believe, and then I'm going to go through how to create videos using Video Maker FX, and we'll go through that process. She asked, what kind of permissions do you give someone to help you on your site?